Hitomi, look! There it was. Speaking of his son, meanwhile, a blue van had appeared nearby, parked in a spot that had been empty previously. Achi couldn't see what was inside, but there was definitely something fishy about it. Besides, there weren't many other blue cars around, so this had to be it. He'd been right. The crooks had come back after all. I'm gonna go take a quick look, Achi said. You wait here. Before he could carry out his plan, Hitomi jumped to her feet. Without a word, she rushed toward the van. Hold on, I said wait! She wasn't slowing down. Achi caught hold of her arm. Wait! This could be dangerous. What if the kidnapper's in there? And what if my sister's in there? I have to go help her. Achi knew full well what it was like to be impulsive, but this was one situation where cooler heads would have to prevail. We can't just hang out here. We can't just hang out here, she insisted. What if the car takes off again? That's why I said I was going to take a look first. But isn't that dangerous? What if they do something to my sister because some random guy comes snooping around? Oh, huh. Yeah, you got a point. Achi thought as fast as he could. Dial-up sounds. The criminal told Hitomi to get into the van. There had to be some specific reason for that. What if they were planning to abduct her as well? Whatever the case, he couldn't just let her go. He had to make a snap decision. Look, just let me go first. I don't want to put you at any risk. Or, okay, let's go together then. Does that work for you? Let's go together. I think that might be the best option here, just because both of their arguments are valid, that it might be too dangerous for her, but if they don't see her, then they might just take off, and that'll ruin everything. I have a feeling she's going to get kidnapped here, though. Please, we have no idea who or what we might run into. Hitomi gave a slight nod. Alright, she said. But let me go first and you follow, okay? Got it, Achi replied. Achi waited as Hitomi started walking, then followed her at a distance so it wouldn't look like they were together. She headed straight for the van. Oh boy. Two men got out of the car, neither of them Japanese. Achi picked his pace in case he needed to close the distance fast. One of the men approached Hitomi and said something to her. She gave an affirming nod. No! Suddenly the two men grabbed her from either side. They dragged her into the van and shoved her into the back seat. Achi broke into a sprint. Of course it was a trap! He couldn't guess what their whole plan was, but kidnapping Hitomi was obviously part of it. Before he could reach the vehicle, the door slid shut. The van sped off an instant later. Achi raced after it. He ran as hard as he could, thinking of nothing else. He couldn't give up now. Couldn't let things end like this. He made a promise. No quitting halfway, and no turning his back on someone in trouble. But the car kept getting further and further away. Before long, it was just a blue speck that vanished into the cityscape. No! Achi never saw Hitomi again. I think I chose the bad option. Lost side of the van, number 10. Achi did try to warn Hitomi that checking out the van by herself was dangerous. And oh look, she got herself kidnapped. Maybe he should have put his foot down and checked on things himself first. Let's try that one again. Had to make a snap decision. Look, let me go first. Hitomi's determination wavered at the look in Achi's eyes. Please, he continued. We have no idea who or what we might run into. If I think they're going to try to run off again, I'll give some signal. Then you can come along, and I doubt they'll be interested in leaving then. Hitomi gave a reluctant nod. Please be careful. Will do. And tell me if my sister's in there. I will. You can count on it. Hachi stepped out into the open and started walking toward the van. He tried his best to look as if he wasn't paying it any attention. Yep, I'm just an ordinary passerby. I'm just a little black rain cloud. You're procrastinating. Here's your Danganronpa clip of procrastination. That's the sound of procrastination right there. Hello, fellow normal people. Just a fellow normie here. The van's dark window film made it hard to see who might be inside, or even how many people. Casually, he moved closer still to get a better look. Hey! Suddenly the sliding door burst open and several people jumped out. None of them were Japanese. Within moments, Achi was surrounded. Whoa, what? Hey, what's the deal? Achi said. He let out a little chuckle. Man, that thing must be packed. How many seats you got in there anyway? He took another step toward the vehicle and looked inside. Whoa, buddy. One of the men pulled a knife from inside his jacket, thrusting it in Achi's direction. He probably meant it as a simple threat, but on reflex, Achi went into self-defense mode, kicking him right in the jaw. Whoops. Do a violence, let slip your wrath. Good news, John. There was a loud crack as his foot connected. The man dropped out like a light. The others stared, then rushed him. Well, this sure hadn't gone as planned. Too late to take it back now. The damage was done. Achi was just going to have to take out the rest of these punks too. He nimbly shifted his feet, evading their initial attack. Having to take these guys on 3-1 wasn't going to be pretty. Achi! He heard Hitomi cry out. Crap. He hadn't given any signal, but she had come out of hiding anyway. Hitomi, stay back! How was he supposed to fight off 3 guys and protect her at the same time? What could he do? What should he do? Within moments, a number of passerby had gathered around the fight. Maybe they'd heard Hitomi shouting. Second. Hey, what's going on? Oh my god, is that a knife? This ain't some petty squabble. Someone call the police. Some of them began taking photos with their cell phones. So they're gonna help or what? No, they got cell phones. They're helping. They're helping with their cell phones. You know, like any people. That's how people help. By cell phones. One of the men cursed in frustration and signaled for his buddies to get back into the car. Achi couldn't stop them. The engine roared to life and the van sped away. Knowing he'd never catch them on foot, Achi merely watched it go. He'd failed. This was his fault, all of it. Achi bit his lip hard. How could he possibly face Hitomi now? Achi. Hitomi's voice was hollow, empty. Achi stared down at his feet like a scolded child. I'm sorry. I didn't see whether your sister was in there or not. I see. The words, so simple and matter-of-fact, stung him to the heart. I'm so sorry. But Hitomi simply shook her head. The fact she wasn't even chewing him out made him feel all the worse. I know I messed up, but he was going to say, I'll make up for it, somehow, but he froze with fear at what he saw next. Oh god, it's that guy again. Across the street, staring at him, was the man with the cane. Hitomi, it's him! They had to get out of here. He grabbed Hitomi by the hand and bolted down Dogenzaka. The assassin followed, staying on his side of the road. Achi wasn't sure what to do. Should they try heading into the alleys and side streets again? except you're weak, Achi. You should have harvested your anger. That's right. You should have done the organ harvesting that we're not talking about. It was dangerous to head to someplace where there'd be fewer witnesses. No, better to stick to Dogonzaka for now. The man wouldn't be able to gun them down if they managed to lose themselves in the crowd along Center Guy first. Besides, the guy had to use a cane. Achi and Hitomi could outrun him. Hand in hand, they sped along Dogonzaka and through the intersection in front of the 109 building. Come on, Hitomi, just a little further. Okay? She was panting, but she pressed on. Achi raised the glance back over his shoulder. Huh? He stopped in surprise. What's wrong? Hitomi asked. The guy, he's not following us. The slope leading down to the intersection wasn't all that steep. Intersection. Several plainclothes detectives have been hiding amidst the crowd in the intersection as part of the kidnapping stakeout. Right now, Director Kuze is sending a message to all officers over the wireless, and so the detectives have stopped to listen in. It's a bit unusual. An observant individual might notice. So that's one of the detectives back there. It was strange that the gunman hadn't bothered to pursue, so he didn't want to run in front of the detectives. Still, there was no time to worry about his behavior right now. Hitomi, can you still run? Yes, I'm alright. Where's everyone's cell phone now? Yeah. Then there's our chance, this way. They need to put plenty of distance behind them before the assassin came after them again. They also need to find the van again and rescue Hitomi's sister. Would they be able to find it and yet stay hidden from the man with the cane? Achi wasn't sure one way or the other, but with Hitomi in tow, he hurried onward towards Center Guy. To be continued. Hey, we finally got it to be continued and not a dead end or a bad end. Hooray. Let's go back to someone else's story then. Yeah, so he is currently one of the later ones. You know, let's jump back to the story since we were here. When we were talking about the sun, we had a brief moment back over there. This happens, I like to interview people from SOS. Are you able to put me in touch with your son? You should know my son isn't in the gang anymore. Oh, Minorukawa hesitated. Guess he's of no use to me then. Oh, believe me, I know how you feel. We'll look at Endo's Facebook volumes. There's no point in interviewing Endo's son if he wasn't in the gang anymore. Figured that Minorukawa's run of good luck would end eventually. Still, he'd gotten a lead in the form of a name, SOS. There was progress. Alright, so back to the matter at hand. He flipped his notebook back open. What did you decide about all to do about all the juvenile delinquents? I set up a tiny little web camera in order to protect my property. Web camera. Camera's designed to send video information to a computer via the internet. Look carefully and you can often spot them outside private residences and even on public streets, where they are installed for use in surveillance. Given the risks of transmitted data being intercepted, the images recorded by such cameras are generally encrypted to prevent playback by unauthorized third parties. Many landmarks and attractions make their camera footage publicly available online. Sorry. Talking so much is making my throat a little scratchy. I see. And I'm guessing the webcam did the trick? Sure did. And so then other local businesses heard about it and started asking me to install some for them. Web cameras aren't particularly expensive, so it wasn't too tough to set them up all over downtown. So who's in charge of these security cameras? Members of the downtown business committee take turns. The cameras are connected via a wireless network that business owners can access throughout the area. Wireless network, a LAN or local area network. Communication system that can only be used within a limited geographical area. A wireless LAN transmits using electronic signals. Although convenient because it does not require cable attachments, there is a risk of signals conveyed in this way being intercepted by a third party. How's the security for the wireless network? Oh, no problems on that front. Endo seems surprised at the question. All these footage sent over the network is fully encrypted. Encryption is the process of encoding data so that it is indecipherable by a third party. Restoring encrypted data to its initial form requires what is called a key, a program designed for this purpose. There are two main types of such cryptographic systems. Secret key crypto systems use the same key for both encryption and decryption. Public key crypto systems use a public key to encrypt the data but require a private key known by the recipient in order to decrypt. But still, people can't feel too good about being recorded on camera without their knowledge, don't you think? Minorikawa asked. The shopkeeper's expression darkened. We hope to strike a balance between crime prevention and protecting individual privacy. Uh-huh, and who determines what that balance is? Minorikawa let out a note of challenge slip into his voice. That would be me. I've been entrusted with the management of the security cameras. I see. So essentially you're providing your own moral oversight. Are you implying that I'm abusing my authority? Endo shot back. I'm doing this in the name of public order. Right, you've had for your 5 minutes. Now get out of here. The shopkeeper stood up and headed into the back. I'll be sure to let the Wandering Angels know about the dry ice machine, Minorikawa hollered as the door closed. Episode 2, Wandering Angels. When Akiomi Mondo doesn't show up at the theater at meetup time, production assistant Yukio Tozuka went to call him on his apartment. Upon arriving, Tozuka found that the place had been staked out by debt collectors. Mondo had borrowed 300,000 yen and they wouldn't leave his home until he paid up. It looked like the only way to save Mondo was to give the debt collectors the operating funds for the theater. But before Tozuka could head back to relay this news, the props master Shinichi Bando showed up. Continued in episode 3. Oh god. Endo didn't reply. Minorikawa had gotten enough of a story to put an article together, so he decided to hurry to a coffee shop and get started on some copy. He was making his way along Dogenzako when his cell phone rang. The incoming call display showed Chiaki's name. Chiaki, what's going on? Oh, it's no use. She sounded like she was on the verge of tears. What's no use? What was that sound? I can't do this. I just can't talk to people passing by on the street. What? Why not? Everyone seems so busy when they're walking past. If I try to interrupt them, they're going to be all mad at me. Well, who the hell cares if they get mad? Minorikawa's ready to start ripping his hair out. I don't want them to be mad at me, she whimpered again. Well, this wasn't about what she wanted, was it? She was supposed to be working, not whining. Look, Chiaki, you need to get me those interviews, period. Do I make myself clear? He hung up before she could squeeze an objection. This poor woman. Damn it, Minorikawa muttered. Just what I needed. One more thing to worry about. He pulled at his hair a few times and cast his worried gaze in the direction of Shibuya Station. To be continued on this front as well. Nice. Okay. Let's see where everyone else's stories are going. Okay, so Osawa is no longer... His whole story was rerouted because he wasn't sent to the publishing office by accident. So let's see where this goes. After a time, Osawa could feel himself growing calmer. He took a nice deep breath. Telemakino. We already did this one. Use voice number. No, nothing much yet. Tiny sigh came on the end. Let's see what I can do for you, sir. I'll just get right to the point. Have you conducted clinical trials using the antiviral drug? Makino did respond right away. What makes you think that? He has at last. Osawa described the emails he'd received. When he finished, Makino let out his breath in surprise. Not over the phone. We'll discuss that in person. I'll head over to your place when I'm done here. As soon as possible, sir. As soon as I can manage, Makino said. You're not the only person who's busy. One second, I just want to make sure that... Okay. That Makino hung up. There was no doubt about it then. There had been human testing. Sawa went to let Tanaka know he'd been meeting with Makino. Mr. Osawa, are you going somewhere? A stolid-looking man stood in the hallway, almost as if he had been waiting for Osawa to emerge. It was Yoshio Kajiwara, one of the detectives from the Shibuya precinct. Detective of Shibuya Precinct's Criminal Investigation Division. He's sociable but awkward, and despite his reserved personality, he can be quite unsettling. His colleagues at the precinct refer to him by nicknames such as Japanese Columbo and Little Ken Takakura, given his own quirky demeanor as a detective. He struck Osawa as a bit too soft-spoken and meek for a detective, really. And his treatment of the kidnapping case gave an impression of flighty detachment that made him seem rather undependable. No, not really. Have there been any developments, Detective? Kajiwara shook his head quietly. I'm sorry, sir. I'm not really sure what to tell you. Kajiwara then slipped a hand into his suit pocket. It's the stupid banana that keeps showing up. He pulled out a banana. Highly nutritious fruit belonging to family Muscaceae, genus Musa. Because they contain a variety of different carbohydrates, bananas can provide long-lasting energy and are an optimal energy source when exercising. The famous slipperiness of banana peels is due to the oils in the inner part of the skin, but even if all the oils were removed, slapstick comedians would still probably slip on them anyway. Are you hungry? These are good for when you're tired. I'm fine, thanks, Osawa said. Kajiwara seemed to lack a detective's sense of situational awareness. Just being around him got on Osawa's nerves. Well, sir, I need you to come with me, the detective said, if you don't mind. He took Osawa by the arm. Banana. As Kajiwara hurried him toward the living room, Osawa could hear the other detectives talking on the other side of the door. He's working at a time like this? Seriously? Sheesh, I do not get rich people and their priorities. Yeah, I feel bad for his daughter. Her dad's a real piece of work. Nice. They were bad-mouthing him in his own house. Oh, I'm really sorry about all that, Kajiwara said, pausing in embarrassment. Osawa pushed past him and opened the door. A number of police detectives had holed up in the living room. They went suddenly silent as Osawa entered. So, tell me, he said sarcastically, would you rather I stay here weeping as I watch this disaster unfold? The detective winced and grimaced. Forgive me for not being a perfect father, he added, his hostility building. Kajiwara stepped forward to intervene before things got out of hand. No, let's not be touchy. I'm not being touchy, Osawa snapped, but he knew full well that he was. These guys had the time to sit around backbiting him, but not to go out and bring his Maria to safety? Already close to half a day had gone by without any new developments. The ransom demand had come in the previous night at 8 o'clock. Maria had been abducted roughly an hour before. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. by Hachiko in Shibuya, have the sister Hitomi bring 50 million yen. If not, the girl's life is forfeit. The kidnapper called only once, so the police were unable to run a trace. I'll do it, Hitomi said. Anything for my sister. She didn't hesitate in the slightest at the suggestion that she make the ransom handoff. Osawa was staunchly opposed to the idea. Police were of the opinion that it was better to acquiesce to the kidnapper's demands. Ai's reaction, on the other hand, baffled nearly everyone. We don't have 50 million just lying around. Are the police going to be putting that up together for us? Kajiwara stepped in to reassure her. If it comes down to it, the police will be able to help raise the money. Okay, go ahead then, do it. We need you to pay it back afterward, though, of course. Well then, what's the point of that? Ai's voice spiked up to a piercing shriek. Calm down, Osawa told her. You're making a scene. Ai turned away in a huff. It's all right, Detective, Osawa continued. I'll talk to the bank first thing tomorrow morning and figure something out. At that, Ai stormed out of the room. Kajiwara bowed his head several times in apology. As soon as Hitomi has made contact, we'll apprehend the suspect and take things from there. What? Hold on, won't that put Marie in danger? If we let the kidnapper get away with the money, we have no proof that he will return the hostage safely afterward. There was a certain logic there Osawa had to concede. I see, he said. So you're saying that catching this guy will be easier for you if he keeps my daughter hostage? Oof. No, that's not what I was implying at all. Kajiwara wiped the sweat off his brow and bowed profusely. At least I promise we'll get your daughter back safe and sound, Mr. Osawa. Obviously there was nothing to be gained from further challenging the detectives. Alright then. I'll let the police do their job. Osawa bowed even lower than Kajiwara had. How long are you gonna just loaf around? How long are you just gonna loaf around? I shrieked as she stormed into the room. Hurry up and arrest this guy! She was becoming increasingly hysterical. An hour had passed since the suspect had taken the money, and yet the police had made no effort to apprehend him. The police apparently had a rule against discussing an operation before it was fully resolved, and so the Osawas had been left in the dark. But they had overheard the task force talking over the wireless, and it appeared that they were deliberately letting the suspect roam free. Yeah, that was with the Kano line. They were like, hey, don't chase the guy. Hey! I snapped again. If he gets away with our money, you are going to reimburse us, right? Osawa scowled. She made it sound like the money was more important than Maria's life. The detectives exchanged uneasy glances. Osawa chided his wife. It's only money, it doesn't matter. Osawa says nothing. Let's get into a fight with our wife. Osawa chided his wife. It's only money, it doesn't matter. Only money? Are you serious? Do you have any idea how much we're talking about here? The ferocity in her voice left him with no response. He should have known better than to expect her to make sacrifices for his daughters. By now he's accustomed to Ai's coldness toward the two girls. The twins were Osawa's daughters from his first wife, who had passed away 15 years earlier. Ai had no blood ties to Maria or Hitomi herself. Well, I continued, are the police going to reimburse us or not? She glared pointedly at Kajiwara. Well, right now we're focused on making sure Maria is safe. I stormed up to him, shouting right in his face, Stop dodging the question! Answer me! Yes, of course, Kajiwara squeaked. Maybe, would you like something to eat to help you calm down? He held out a banana. I smacked it out of his hand. Oh, banana. Oh, dear, what a waste. Kajiwara scrambled to retrieve the fruit from the floor. Osawa went over to Tanaka and whispered into his ear, I'm going to meet with Mr. Makino. Tanaka nodded silently. Turning, Osawa and saw Kajiwara looking in their direction. They made eye contact, but Osawa quickly looked away and strode out of the living room. R.I.P. Banana, the true hero of this story. Kajiwara followed after him. Excuse me, Mr. Osawa? Yeah, what is it? The detective fussed sheepishly with his hair and forced a smile. Sir, we'd appreciate if you could remain in the living room as much as possible. Osawa was in no mood to stand on propriety. Look, I got a ton of work to do, he said. Are you here to tell me to play the role of grieving father too? No, not at all. Personally, I happen to think you're an admirable father, Mr. Osawa. Admirable. The word have a ring of sarcasm. He had no way to tell if Kajiwara was being forthright with him or not. You're no ordinary fellow, Mr. Osawa. You're a genius. A genius? Me? Osawa made a skeptical noise. Am I mistaken, sir? You've made very important strides in the field of virus research. Or will, so I've been told. Osawa wasn't sure how to respond. He had never considered himself a genius. He was just someone who was more interested in viruses than he was in other people. Everyone who's a genius is also a little bit odd, after all, Kajiwara went on. Probably he'd intended that as a compliment, but still. I mean, there's nothing wrong with weirdos, so long as they leave us ordinary folks alone, you know? Is this guy trying to praise me or insult me? Sal let out a heavy sigh. Genius weirdo, what did it even matter? So as long as he could be left to his work, he didn't care one whit how he looked in other people's eyes. Kajiwara wiped the sweat off his forehead with a handkerchief. By the way, what are you working on right now? He asked. I'm afraid you wouldn't understand even if I explained it to you, Osawa replied. This guy's creeping me out. I don't know if he's just not socially aware or he's actually like a spy. Right, precisely. Even if I gave it my full attention, it would still be beyond me. He peered with sudden intensity at Osawa's face. I'd appreciate if you didn't hide things from me, sir, he said. Osawa gaped at a loss for words. Oh, I'm so sorry, Kajiwara added hurriedly. Goodness, that made it sound like I'm accusing you of hiding something, didn't it? The detective bowed his head repeatedly. I hope you'll forgive me. He held out the banana. That won't be necessary. How about this then? He pulled out a bar of chocolate from his pocket. No, thank you. Did this guy just carry an endless food supply wherever he went? Oh my, Kajiwara murmured. You geniuses really are tough to sort out. He inclined his head, mumbling to himself for a moment. What can I get for you then, sir? What I'd really like is some time by myself. I'm scared. I'm very scared too. Also, hello, Paper Star. How you doing? In days of exasperation, Osawa felt his way to the study. Locking the door, he finally had a breath he'd been holding. Then his eyes alighted on the bookshelf against the wall. He pulled out a photo album and began to flip through it. There were pictures of his daughter's grade school enrollment ceremony. Their mother had already passed away from illness, so Osaka had taken the girls himself. He remembered that, after the ceremony, Hitomi had come down with a fever. Hitomi had been rather sickly as a girl, falling bedridden at the drop of a hat. Maria, by contrast, had been lively and energetic, quite the handful. Osawa had found it remarkable that their personalities could be so different despite them being twins. He flipped further into the album. There was a picture of the three of them at their grade school graduation. Maria was looking away from the camera. Osawa felt like someone had stabbed a dagger in his heart. His daughters or virology? Which truly concerned him more? Which did he truly love? It was ridiculous to try to compare the two. He'd known the answer before he even asked himself. Even so, human emotions were complicated and sometimes made people act inconsistently. One of the consequences of that was this photo album. This was the last photo he had of Maria. He searched and searched the rest of the album, but she was nowhere else to be found. That's another to be continued. So he's going to have to come to terms with what's more important, his job or his family. But, yeah. So let's see, we're still at a bad end with Kano. Have to see if we are going to fix that or not. But let's head back to Tama then.